The wicket was just that giant strip of cleared trees that they have that
Yeah.
defines our border.
Yeah,
That's for the
so good.
geography nerds. We love
Bonus
the 48th
points.
parallel.
Bonus points to Adam for remembering what a wicket is.
And
So,
everybody just tuned out. Please continue, Harry,
yeah.
before we lose everybody.
Hello, and welcome to Athlantic, the show where an American and a Brit take turns crossing the pond to learn about sports culture in the UK and the USA. I am your resident Brit, Harry Collins.
And I am your resident American, Adam Jordan. Harry, it is a brand new year. It's a brand new year of Athlantic. We are in what, 24, 25, 26. This means 3 years of existence. I'm saying it's our third anniversary, even though it's not at all
I'll
our
take
third
that.
anniversary. But why not? We got to find reasons to celebrate post the holiday break. But I want to stick straight into this one with our patron saint. So, Harry, as we have been doing for what, about 7 episodes now? I think our
Yeah.
first one was 20, maybe it was
Uh-huh.
21 with Roberto Clemente. But what's our patron saint? Who is our patron saint this time?
So I think we mentioned this a couple of episodes ago. The higher numbers definitely favor American athletes. And I had to do a little bit of digging here, and I'm really pleased I found this sports person because today's patron saint is Ayrton Senna, who wore the number 27 on the McLaren he won his second World Drivers' Championship in. Outside, if you can remove yourself from your sort of Formula One fan um, mindset, do you think Ayrton Senna occupies any part of the like sports zeitgeist in the USA?
No, not at all. I
Crazy.
think unless you are somebody who is into racing, I don't know if you necessarily have to be into F1, but if you're just like, or
Yeah,
have to have
true.
F1 be your primary motorsport, but I think like unless you are a motorsports fan, specific
Yeah,
like
you're
a
right.
deep motorsports fan, you're just not like you don't know who he is. I didn't know who he was until I started following F1.
Yeah, that's it. Do you know who Valentino Rossi is?
I don't know.
Oh, see,
Should
interesting.
I?
He's probably the Ayrton Senna of like um racing bikes. But again,
Oh,
outside of
shoot.
that, and he's like a superstar in bike racing, but outside of that niche, these names really don't penetrate around the world. And I think Formula One until the last couple of decades sort of stayed away from America for about 20 years after the Las Vegas race. So it's interesting that that name, Ayrton Senna is sort of like a demigod. He is
Yeah.
just such a cult icon. Uh, in many people's opinion, the greatest uh, the greatest Formula One driver, certainly. Um, Maybe even like the greatest sort of racing personality across a bunch of different sports and disciplines, but a hero to so many people. And I was thrilled when I found out the number 27 applied to Senna. Of course, when he wins a championship, you get the number one. So we missed that boat sailed ages ago. So yeah, we
Yeah,
caught him again.
we're gonna go back. We're gonna be like when the masters of this podcast are sold to the highest bidder, which they'll go
Uh-huh.
for millions and millions, I'm
Yeah.
sure. And we just don't we just don't like have control anymore. We're gonna be like Taylor
Uh-huh.
Swift and re-record all of our episodes, and we're
Yes.
but the change is we're gonna kill sport math earlier on, and we're gonna add the patron saint at the beginning as the replacement. But anyway, yeah, we're making do with what we've got now. And my favorite thing about the patron saint, and we can move on after this, unless you had anything else to say about Senna, um, is that I love that it can be like it can be somebody like super obscure, or
Yeah.
it could be just some like random footballer, or it could be Ayrton
Michael
Senna
Jordan.
or Roberto
Yeah.
Clemente or Michael Jordan. Like,
Uh-huh.
that's the fun of it.
But as we climb the numbers, there are a couple, and I haven't worked out the math on whose introduction it'll be. But there are a couple way in the future that I've got like earmarked for very specific players.
Well, I
But
guess it yeah, I because it's not like an even odd situation, I don't think. Because I think it was Roberto Clemente was 21. We gotta go back and go back into the archives of
maybe
several
one
episodes ago.
episode we should just go and, like, patron saint all of the original ones
Yeah.
and make them
Honestly, that'd be kinda fun. We could do that. Yeah. Make me some
so
bonus content.
as you said, it is a brand new year. The first couple of weeks of January are always a time for reflection, and something that we did in this episode last year, in our first episode in 2025, was look forward to a calendar full of sport, and we each picked out three things that we were really excited to watch. And just before we get into the main body of today's episode, I was wondering if you and I just go through, sort of review what we saw, maybe if one of us didn't end up fulfilling his very simple three three sport wish list, and maybe I can set a New Year's resolution to make up the rest of my events. Do you remember what three sports, what three moments on the calendar you were most excited for a year ago?
I remember I remember 2 of them, which
Great.
yeah, I'm pretty proud of myself. I remember 2 of them, but I'm just most nervous the fact that you're now pulling out receipts from previous episodes. Because if we start setting that precedent, things
I
could
know.
get, things could get dicey. Who knows what we said?
I'm the
But
one who's
I'm pretty sure that I said the PWHL playoffs, and I
correct.
think I said the Ashes.
Correct. You said
Yes.
another hockey one earlier in the year.
Oh, the 4
International hockey,
face-off.
the Four Nations face-off.
Yeah, God, that feels like it was so long ago, but it was
It
just
really
last year.
does.
Wow, okay. Time.
And
How about
I cheated. I said the whole Formula 1 season, which this year I did a far better job of watching the whole season than I had the last 4 or 5 years. And you and I
I
even
mean, yeah.
discussed how excited we were to see Lewis Hamilton in a new car. Oh my oh my days, that didn't go well.
That one day in God, what was it? Was it, like
There
was
was
it
the Chinese
Singapore?
sprint race that he won, yeah.
It was the Chinese sprint race. Yes, it was the it was that one day.
And we were like, "Yeah, he's back."
It's great.
But
Uh,
I think we got a really good, as we mentioned a couple of episodes back, we got a really good F1 season, so I'm really happy
yeah, big time.
to have paid so much attention to that. Also, the Lionesses retained the Euros last year. That was something I was really excited for. But as I kind of let slip earlier, the thing that I missed, I just slept through the whole of the Daytona 500. So, with your help this year, my resolution will be to Athlantic that I will watch the Daytona 500 in full this year. I don't know when it
We
is. I'll book it off work. It's
we should do one of those we're gonna do a little live brainstorm here. We should do one of those simulcasts, like, things that,
yes,
a bunch of creators and, like, podcasters do where it's like, "Hey, here's a live stream of us just watching something." Yeah.
alternative commentary.
Yes,
Uh,
yes, the
uh,
alt cast with a British guy watching the Daytona 500, and the only real knowledge that he has on the sport is, like, episode that we did on NASCAR
yeah,
and the videos of Dale Earnhardt that I pretty much taped your eyelids open and
you
forced you to
did.
watch
Yeah.
one of the last times we were together.
Now, the as you said, you had the Four Nations, the Walter Cup playoffs,
Yep.
and the last thing that you just mentioned, you were excited to watch your first Ashes, which
I was excited.
you were a big past tense energy coming here. So that leads us into today, the bulk of today's episode. We're going to talk about the Ashes. We're going to talk about this Ashes. We're going to talk about the state of cricket more generally. This will be one of the few episodes that we record while it's happening. Occasionally, we've had
The outcome's still in doubt.
it's
Anybody's game.
and I reckon it could be done before we finish recording, which is a real shame because this year has been such a damp squib of
I'm
of
pulling up the
a
live score
series.
now.
So yeah, you bring up the live score. Um, and I want to start with a couple of questions. I've got a little trivia question for you, and one sort of opinion spot. When you think of hockey internationally, like the Four Nations, what countries spring to mind?
Canada, Canada, the US, Russia, Sweden,
Sure.
Czech, yeah, those
When you
kind of
think
countries.
of baseball,
US,
yep.
Mexico, Dominican Republic, Japan,
And which nations spring to mind when you think about cricket?
England,
Sure.
Australia,
Uh-huh.
and yeah, I mean those are the 2 that come to mind for me, and India,
Yep, sure.
Pakistan, Bangladesh.
Sure.
Yeah,
Good.
those are it.
These are the right answers. I'm glad you're saying this.
Yeah.
Now your trivia before we get into the meat and potatoes about what the Ashes is. Do you want to guess what the first international cricket match, which two teams played in that first game? I'll give you a clue. It's not much of a clue. The the first international cricket match was held for 2 days in September 1844. Which two nations contested
Were
the first ever international
imp
cricket match?
important question, were they sovereign nations at this point, or were they colonies?
That's a great question.
Because
I
I wanna say England and India because, like,
one of them.
I said England and Australia first because, like, we're talking about the Ashes, but, like, truly the 2 countries that come to mind are England and India, like, those are the
So
powerhouses, but I imagine
it's in-
England's involved, so help me out.
it's incredibly arrogant of me not to know all of the 144 Independence Days that are celebrated against the United Kingdom. But you make a very good point. I'm sure both of these countries were sovereign nations, but I would have to check it. But your final answer was
I'm gonna say I mean, let's say it's England and Australia.
it's
I don't know.
the USA and Canada. The first ever international cricket match was played between your great nation and your northern neighbors.
And the
Um,
wicket, the wicket was just that giant strip of cleared trees that they have that
yeah,
defines our border.
yeah,
That's for the
so good.
geography nerds. We love
Bonus
the 48th
points.
parallel.
Bonus points to Adam for remembering what a wicket is.
And
So,
everybody just tuned out. Please continue, Harry, before we lose everybody.
so the Ashes is very simply it is a test tournament played between England and Australia biannually. So it's played in the summer in both nations, but of course because we're antipodal, that's the sort of played in July in the UK, and then from November to January in Australia, which means as we're recording today on the 8th of January, we are just seeing the last test wrap up in Sydney. um, do you know, or do you want to guess why we call this form of cricket, which we mentioned in the second or the third episode of Athlantic? We talk about cricket a fair amount, including all of the different formats. Adam, we didn't cover why they're called tests. Would you like to give just a very brief guess?
I mean, to me, it always just made sense because, like, I guess you think of it like a contest, a challenge, a something like. I think it's just another term for competition, like an old timey
You
term.
You are so almost perfectly right.
Oh
The
wow!
the term test was arrogantly given to, and this again reeks of that like imperial arrogance, was coined in the 1860s by an English team that visited the Australian colonies to test their local teams. The English team would go over and play local like club teams and just kind of see if any of the colonial groups in Australia had a fairly decent cricket team, and they were pleasantly surprised. They didn't win everything. They were still victorious on the whole, but a couple of small sort of city cricket clubs upset the Travellers. But it was all jovial, and ultimately England came away as the obvious winners. Um, the first instance of a 5-day test was in 1884, but 2 years before that, in 1882, the Ashes were born. Now, the Ashes were born of a competition where Australia had come to play England in England. And in this match, in these tests, Australia soundly beat the British, and it was a point of humiliation for the English team, and the Sporting Times wrote a sort of mock obituary for English cricket, which read, I know, it's so unbelievably English. "In affectionate remembrance of English cricket, which dies at the Oval on the 29th of August, 1882. Deeply deeply lamented by a large circle of sorrowing friends and acquaintances. RIP. The body will be burned and the ashes taken to Australia."
Ah,
Now that was
clue.
there's the clue. This was the first time that the Ashes was mentioned in relation to that growing rivalry. Now, the following year, a gentleman who was, I think, a parliamentarian, but also a keen cricketer called Ivo Bligh, captained England's reply on a sequel tour, during which Bligh pledged to the Sporting Times to return the ashes of English cricket. So the term ashes just comes from a joke in a newspaper. And
Wild.
suddenly we have a name for this grudge match. And honestly, it's the whole point of the ashes is little more than that grudge match.
Wow.
Um,
So yeah, it's purely like, man, we got humiliated. We gotta get our glory back.
Precisely,
That's a
yeah,
metaphor
exactly.
for something English.
Yeah, exactly. Now here's the thing, and this is something I only just learned. The we've spoken before. You and I have very differing opinions on the best trophy in sports. I think you believe the best trophy in sports belongs to ice hockey, and I think the best trophy in sports belongs to the Ashes. However, I have learned that the trophy, the 4-inch high trophy that that symbolizes the Ashes, was only made in that sequel test, that
Interesting.
series in Melbourne the following year. There is huge speculation about where it actually came from because nobody seems to know. Some people think some accounts say that the urn used to be a perfume bottle into which somebody jokingly burnt a bales from the top of the wicket. But actually, anyone that and I actually said this on the last time we spoke about cricket, so this is a full redaction. The ashes in the urn are not the bales from the first Ashes game. That is a myth that I have fallen hook, line, and
Mm.
sinker for. And if, Adam, you like speculative myths about trophies, that's not the only one we'll be talking about today.
Okay, that's a nice tease. I will say, I just want to pause for a second. I do appreciate that we are taking a little bit of a deeper dive, and we joked at the beginning about like how yes, I was past tense excited to watch the Ashes this time. It was still thrilling. The biggest problem, and I barely feel like I watched it, was the time zone. Like it
Yeah,
is difficult to watch a test wherever it is in Australia, but especially when it's on the West Coast
sure.
on the East Coast of the United States. So, like, it was fun. I'm glad we're taking, like, a little bit of a deeper dive. We don't wanna quite call this a part 2, although we actually don't seem to have changed clothes since episode 3. But it is nice to kinda take this deeper dive.
Yeah. Um, what time were the games on for you? Like, if you were watching it in New York, what time was it?
There was, I think, the first ball, if I remember correctly, because it was an eternity ago, it feels like. I think the first ball went off at, like, 11 PM. But there were
Wow.
some that I think started, like, depending on
Sure.
where we were, like, if we were, on day 2 of the 2nd or 3rd test or something like that, and it would start at, like, 2 a.m., like,
Yeah.
something crazy like that.
Um, it's also, and we'll get onto this later on, the because the Ashes really takes on a sort of dual personality based on which nation is hosting it. But what's a really interesting wrinkle as a sports fan and a cricket fan is that you have such a different relationship with it when you're watching in the UK or sort of trying to keep track of it in Australia, because
Yeah.
we asked, it happens in the dead of the night here, and maybe you'll stay up to watch the first couple of overs before you go to bed, and then you wake up, you check your phone, and you're like, "Oh, we've had a great afternoon," and you turn on the radio or the TV or whatever, and you catch the last session, or you wake up and it was diabolical, and you turn off the radio and you choose a new sport to follow. Anyway, following the inaugural Ashes, Ivo Bly enjoyed a very successful trip to Australia, and England won 8 uninterrupted series before a brief Australian interruption when they hosted again late into the 1890s. But since then, Australia has slowly and then rather quickly established many multi-win runs, um, uh, only occasionally being beaten by England. This is a competition that we both care deeply about, but unfortunately, it is a competition that Australia are winning. Of the 74 Ashes series that have taken place, Australia have won outright 35 of them, and England have won outright 32 of them. However, if you remember from the first time we discussed cricket, you can tie test matches, which means in this instance you can play for 25 days and have no outcome. If that
Is it
happens,
Oh,
go on.
perfect. Oh, I was just gonna ask you the question you're about to answer.
If that happens, whoever won it previously, the current holders of the Ashes, they retain the trophy.
So
Now
it's like
that's what
it's
happened.
like the Ryder Cup.
Yes, yeah, yeah, precisely, yeah. Um,
Is it thought of as, like, because I know this is the case with the Ryder Cup, like, if you retain it, it's not, like, as like, you don't feel as
yes.
good about it? Yeah.
Yeah, especially as England found when we hosted in the last one. What was that, in 24, 23? I'm getting my years mixed up because we're in a new year. We we failed to regain the Ashes. Australia came over and retained them, but away from home. And I think there's more pride in that than if you retain them at home.
That makes
So,
sense.
so yes, the Australians have the edge and have done for a while. Now, as I said earlier, the Ashes take on a sort of dual personality that is evident when you're spectating. It's also evident when you're playing. But one of the most stark ways that you can see this difference, this Jekyll and Hyde, is in the grounds and the cities that they play in. Both nations typically use the same grounds, the same pitches, the same stadiums, and they're sort of forged in this almost 150 years of tradition. For instance, the English series will always go to Lords in its second test, and will always finish at the Oval.
Interesting.
Melbourne will always host the Boxing Day test, and Sydney will always host the New Year's test. And what's really fascinating is looking at the different sizes of the stadiums, as we talked about in the last episode. In England, all of the stadiums are currently just single-use cricket stadiums, but in Australia, they are dual use. Can you tell me off the top of your head what other sport Australian cricket stadiums are used for?
Has to be Aussie rules football. Like,
It is
it's the
Aussie rules
same
football.
type of pitch, right? Yeah. Like,
Yeah,
it's
you
gotta
are
be, yeah.
spot on. And because these stadiums are dual purpose in Australia, they are so much bigger. The
Oh,
smallest,
sure, yeah.
yeah, the smallest Australian stadium dwarfs the biggest English stadium used in the last Ashes. Lords is the biggest English stadium we've got. Is about 34,000 seats.
Wow,
The
that's big.
MCG, the Melbourne Cricket Ground holds 100,000 people.
Wow. Which like
So
that there's so many different, and one thing that I feel like what I'm about to learn is like there's a bunch of is there's like real differences between the two. I mean, you just mentioned there's kind of some different flavors depending on who's hosting it, and like this
yep,
feels like that feels in and of itself like you like because I mean you think of an Aussie rules football game like one of the most electric sports, just
yeah,
the atmosphere has a lot to do with that. um
100%.
Whereas if you're putting cricket, even if the atmosphere isn't quite the same, it having
Uh-huh.
that many people packed in surely has to have an out.
100%. Also, because it takes place in Australia through November, December, and January, this is their summer holiday. So kids are typically off school. Also, you've got like the festive period in there as well. So many more people take it off and fill those stadiums. What you'll see in the English series is the second day of the second test, the ground's not always full.
Wow.
So that atmosphere is completely different. Now, um, it's sort of a balance between that traditionalism in the UK. All of our grounds are smaller and more intimate. They normally a couple of them have like a gorgeous grand pavilion. Do you know is the does the word pavilion mean anything to an American?
It probably means something different. I mean, we have the word, but probably means something
So
different.
on a cricket ground, the pavilion is like the clubhouse. It's you know where the teams get changed and have tea and have lunch because of course Test cricket breaks for tea and drinks
You'll
and
be surprised, Harry, yeah, that American sports
yeah.
do not have a name for somewhere to go and
Yeah,
drink
to
tea.
go and have tea. Um, and then in as we said, in Australia, the grounds are colossal. The as you said, electric atmospheres really sort of changed the complexion of the game. And when you listen to it in Australia, you can sort of feel the pressure. One of the obvious exciting things about this game is that it's the furthest away day you could ever consider. So you know, we've got these pasty English boys. A couple of them are ginger, and they've gone all the way to Australia to play in the searing southern hemisphere sun around Christmas. They're away from their maybe their families have come with them, but they're away from their sort of traditions, and they're away from um, they're away from their, you know, their homes, and they're forced to play in the searing heat, and then you're getting yelled at by 100,000 drunk people in Melbourne. It's
And
so brilliant.
there's a term for these for the traveling English fans, right? Like, don't
Uh,
they have a group?
the traveling, yeah, the Barmy Army, they're very good. They rock up with like a brass band, the real pride of the nation. So the pitches that both teams play in either country also suit both teams' playing style because
Oh,
these English players have grown up playing in England where it is wetter and it is colder and the ground is softer. And the Australians play in a warmer climate where the soil is full of clay and it's harder. So two conflicting styles of play have evolved over these 150 years, and it's really interesting. Every year there's always commentary about how will the English game suit this pitch in Australia. And you know, we talk about, oh, we've got a really good opportunity in Adelaide because the humidity is slightly lower. So maybe the ground will be a little bit more receptive. And when the Australians come over here, we're like, oh well, this, you know, we're playing at Headingley today, and it's a slow pitch, so the Australian fast bowlers won't get into their groove.
hmm,
Obviously, and we talked about stadiums, we talked about the emotion in stadiums, and especially in baseball, where different stadiums allow different like pitch dimensions. The stadiums and the pitches have like they become a protagonist in and of themselves. They become a character.
yeah.
Cricket is the exact same. Now, where
And
you've got
they're not uniform. So, like,
oh
the literal oval, I'm not talking about, like, the oval of the stadium, but, like, the oval of a cricket pit, like, that's not uniform necessarily.
yeah, you're completely correct. It's like is it is it ground rules in
Yeah, ground
baseball
rules, yeah, yeah.
stadiums? Yeah, it like the Give us a good example of a ground rule.
So like in um Tampa at their stadium, because they play in a dome, or they did, I think it's coming back this year. But if you hit a ball and it gets stuck on the catwalk or bounces off the catwalk or one of the light post that's on the ceiling, if it hits a certain spot, it's a double. Whereas if it hits
Sure,
another spot, it's a foul ball.
sure. At Lords, Lords is the home of cricket. It's not the Lords pitch is not flat. There is like a meter and a
Whoa.
half difference between the height of the pitch on one side and
What?
it's on a slope. So if you catch a six and you're hitting up the hill, there's a far better chance that somebody's going to be on the receiving end of it. And if you hit a six going the other way, it's going to land in the Thames. Now, um, so we've got the nations, we've got the history, this 150 years of sort of grudge match, and this slowly evolving and increasing rivalry. And of course, across those years, we've had different protagonists. Australia, probably maybe the greatest cricket player of all time, Donald Bradman, played in the 1930s, is one of those characters that really set the Ashes, and set it into this mold that we recognize today. He is like cricket's answer to Babe Ruth.
Oh, whoa.
I'm not going to quiz you on Babe Ruth's stats, but Donald Bradman averaged 99.9 runs per wicket. So every time he was when he was at the crease and batting, he averaged 99.9 runs.
So that, to translate from to, if you don't need to brush up on the previous cricket episode, to translate that means that he basically, for a baseball sense, he scored almost 100 runs before anybody got him out on
Correct.
average.
Yeah.
Wild. And
It's
that's known
so
as a
wild.
century, right? Just like there's a
Yes, yeah,
term for
yeah.
that. Yes,
If
amazing.
he if he
We're
get
learning.
yeah, if he got that point 1 more than his average, he hits a century, yes. That is to contextualize how amazing that is. The next best batting average in history was 62. Yeah,
Whoa.
he's 50% better at the crease than any other batsman in cricket history. In fact, he was so good, the English invented a tactic just to nullify his brilliance, which was called body line. And now it'll be interesting to see how baseball sort of pairs here. In body line, the bowler had no interest in aiming for the wicket. He only wanted to hit poor Donald Bradman in the hope that the Australian Jedi would use his bat only to defend himself. And this is before we had helmets, only to defend himself. And if he's raising his bat to literally prevent his nose getting broken, maybe one of the 8 English fielders who are stood right next to him will accidentally catch it. Of course,
What?
he would hit far more fours and sixes than England wanted playing body line, and he hurt a lot of people, but he was that good. Um,
Wow.
Previously, we talked about the king of spin, Shane Warne. We've talked about Alistair Cook and James Anderson before as well. But
The
in
king of the
these
swing,
the king of
James
the
Anderson.
swing, yes, well done. The
Patron saint?
across these, he was a patron saint. Across these 150 years, we've had some incredible characters, and it's sort of every year you're just adding another layer. Like any competition, I'm sure you're just adding another layer of that history. Um, so that's the story up to now, and I'm about to just quickly talk about the women's Ashes. But do you have any questions? Do you see any parallels with any sort of history of baseball or any other sport in the US
I mean, and when did you say that Donald Bradman played?
in the 30s?
Okay, so yeah, I'd be interested. Like there's definitely a parallel where there were some great player, like a handful of amazing players in the 1930s and before, that kind of dominated, like a Babe Ruth, that
Uh
whose records are still some of them still stand today. Babe Ruth's records
Yeah,
don't stand today, but like they're at the top, near the top of the record books today. So it's interesting that there is a little bit of a parallel
yeah,
there, that you have like some of those greatest players to ever play, or
sure.
close to the greatest players that ever played, in an era where there wasn't a ton of video, or like the
Yeah,
way that
sure.
athletes trained was obviously
Uh-huh.
wildly night and day different. So that's interesting. The only other thing is, you did tell me at one point when I was asking you a million questions about the Ashes, and you finally said, "Shut up, ask them on a show, and stop texting me at 2 a.m." Is the I didn't realize that the balls themselves are different depending on whether it's in Australia or England. Can you explain
Yes.
a bit?
Right, so, yes, I can. And actually, really, really good question because this year it went one step further than that. In the UK, this is not one of them, um, but I actually, uh, gave this as a gift to somebody, very special to us both. In England, we play with Duke's cricket balls, which are made here in London. They're made in a teeny tiny, gorgeous little factory. They're handmade, they're hand stitched. They're always embossed in this gorgeous sort of gold leaf text, which is obviously knocked off the bat, knocked off the ball immediately. In Australia, they use Kookaburra balls. I think,
What a name.
really, I know it's a great name, actually, to be clear. Dukes and Kookaburra, wonderful.
Also, we
Never
don't
change
like
that.
anything. We don't like anything with Duke on this podcast. We
You're
just
right. Yeah,
to
you're
make that
complete.
clear.
Yeah, you're
But yes, my
completely right.
my my dad, who hates Duke just as much as any other self-respecting Carolina fan, displays his Duke cricket ball proudly, and actually in a bowl of baseballs that I thought you would enjoy.
Amazing. That makes me so happy. So yes, we play with slightly different balls. I don't know specifically how they behave differently. However, this year, for the first time, we played something called pink ball cricket in the Ashes. Red
What
ball
does that
cricket
mean?
Red Bull cricket, if you remember, is for test matches, which are played during the day. White ball cricket is for limited overs cricket, which is played into the evening under floodlights. This year in Brisbane, for the first time in Ashes history, we played, I say we, it was played a test that went into the night. And therefore, under floodlights, we used a pink ball. Now, because half of the test was still played during the day, there was lots of speculation about whether or not the color of the ball would affect the traveling team, because Australians play with pink balls in the Big Blast, which we will talk about later on. It wouldn't be the first instance of Australian cheating in the
Ooh.
although I'm not saying that's what the pink ball is, although I did text you and my dad that I was outraged that the pink ball was being used. Um, I'm
And
also
that's just pure, like, the color of the ball is purely
just the
because
color
the
ball.
time of day, but it's also, like, just the time of day so you could see it better.
Yeah,
Okay.
and they didn't commit to white ball because, cricket is as steeped in tradition as it is innovation. They didn't wanna use a white ball because it's not couth for the Ashes, so we used a
But
pink
a pink
ball.
ball, okay.
Hey, I if like pink is a shade of red, maybe we can thread it through the ICC.
Sure.
Um, I'm gonna be gracious, and I'm not gonna talk about Australia's long history of cheating, and move on to something else that happened in the 1930s, which was the founding of the Women's Ashes. The women's ashes deviates from the same format as the men's. As I said, the men's is five-day tests. The women's ashes can be played across a spectrum of either 1 to 5 tests. It's always obviously organized ahead of time, and it's agreed how many tests will be played. And also, it's not 5 day long tests. Instead, they play. Sometimes they play limited overs, 1 day internationals. They play T20. Um, the
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, the introduction of the short form, has dramatically reduced the likelihood of draws. And this is maybe something else that we'll get onto later on about the future of the Ashes. But if you enjoyed the story about the Ashes trophy, I have to tell you the women's trophy is also bizarrely mysterious because in 1998, the women's players for the Australian and the English team signed and burned a cricket bat, a copy of the Women's Cricket Association Constitution, and a rule book in a wok that they plucked from the kitchen at Lord's, um, the ashes of which were poured into a wooden uh, cricket ball. It was a carved cricket ball, and it was carved out of yew, and yew is the wood that we use for cricket bats. So that all of the myth and the legend around the men's ashes, the little urn having the ashes of the original bales wasn't real. Instead, the women were like, "We're actually going to set this legend from the get go, and we're going to
That's
pour
so
these."
cool.
It's so cool, and then they lost it because of.
What?
And this is a big apparently, because I've now read 3 or 4 different accounts, and they all no none of them line up. This wooden cricket ball, 2 of them were made, and one of them was given to the Australians, when they came back and they won, and the original cricket ball was kept at Lord's in the museum. One of the balls went missing. So the other ball was then entombed in a new trophy which shows 9 stumps. It's really big. It's like silver rods, which are the stumps, and in the middle is the cricket ball, this U cricket ball. However, nobody knows for certain if this ball is the original one that has the original ashes in, or is the fake one, not the fake one, the replica that was given to Australia.
Come
Um,
on.
so it's so good. It's
Wait, so
fascinating.
the one in the these account, like, the one in was it taken from the museum and they said,
That's
"Hey, we need the Australia ball?" Is that what we're saying? Or we're not even sure of that?
We don't know. We don't
Okay.
know. I can't find anything definitive.
Unreal.
But it's too good a story not to share. And the last thing I want to talk about, because the rest of this episode is going to be about this specific Ashes series, and then what it means for the wider men's cricket landscape. I just want to tell you about Atlantic's new favorite athlete, Ellyse Perry, who is probably one of the most talented athletes in the entire world.
Whoa.
Why? Yeah, I'm calling this because
Exciting.
did you read the notes, or are you getting
I
this live?
I I skimmed over the notes, but, like, the parts I'm like, "Oh, this is somebody he's gonna tell me about, that's cool."
Yeah,
And so
sick.
I skipped it, but I can't wait to
So
hear it. Please say more.
in cricket, she is a phenomenal batter and bowler. She made her ICC World Cup debut in 2007 at aged 16. So
Whoa.
she's playing on the biggest cricket stage at the age of 16. And 2 weeks after she made that debut, she played for the Australia national football team, aged
What?
16. She is a dual sport athlete. We've got another one. We absolutely love these types of sports people on Athlantic.
What?
So yeah, she played competitively at a national level for both Australia's cricket and Australia's football team.
And that
In
young.
and that young, that's how amazing she is. In 2012, her football team, Canberra United, served her the ultimatum and said, "Give up cricket or give up football." And she simply joined a different football team who let her do both.
Yes.
It's so good. She eventually retired from football to focus on cricket. However, she was interviewed she was interviewed, was it last year? The year, no, 2023, when the Matildas came fourth in the women's World Cup, which she obviously would have been eligible for. She's only 35. She's still playing. She's still playing cricket in
Incredible.
Australia, England, and India,
What in the
which is
world?
another little spoiler for later on. So yeah, Ellyse Perry. We don't talk about things outside of the Atlantic for, an obvious reason. The Ashes is such an amazing competition. I'm so glad that we came across Elise, especially because she plays in England as well. She plays for Birmingham, I think. Yeah, wicked. This is
Also,
if
like,
there's
we have in the past on this show, we have absolutely slandered the good name
Australia.
of Australia.
Yeah,
And I you know, some would argue it's a bit, some would argue it's just mean for no good reason. Whatever
yeah,
we've said, Elise Perry, you have absolutely just
yeah,
ripped us to shreds. You are absolutely my new favorite athlete. The only thing that would make this story better, and now I need to, like, go another step deeper and see what I can find. But you said Canberra United was her team that
yeah,
she left. I
uh,
hope that she got to play them and, like, scored a
yeah,
hat trick in the game.
yeah. I'll check that. Um, so yeah, that's the women's Ashes. They played uh this time last year in Australia, so they'll be coming to England not this summer, next summer.
Yep.
But it'll be wicked. I cannot wait because now we get a whole new sort of thing to follow. Obviously, it's been going on for years, but I always thought that it ran concurrently with the men's game. I'm really glad it doesn't. Let it be its own thing.
Yeah.
Let stars like Elise Perry walk all over England. Yeah, she's welcome. Um,
Maybe the 2020, or maybe the next, Athlantic event has to be, my coming over for that. That
yes.
that'd be awesome.
Okay, so let's talk about what happened this time. I'm quite new to enjoying cricket. I really wished I picked it up when I was younger. The number of Boxing Days I could have enjoyed watching Test cricket instead of playing a rubbish PlayStation 2 game is a real shame. But following or just preceding the last Ashes, Brendan McCullum was named the new Test head coach, and he appointed Ben Stokes as his captain. Now, these two appointments were made in a pursuit for more aggressive, more positive run scoring by the English team. This new tactical approach was called Bazball. Does the word has the word Bazball penetrated even your most Anglophilic consciousness?
No, I've never heard that in my life. I just hope it's directed by Baz Luhrmann. That's all I can say.
I I could tell you it was directed by Baz Luhrmann because much like his Romeo and Juliet, it ends in heartbreak.
Oh,
Bazball
no.
Bazball effectively involves very aggressive batting with an emphasis on risky shot selection. The whole point of Bazball is trying to score very early and very quickly, and the justification for that is that if you start scoring, especially in Test cricket, if you start scoring early, you might sort of unsettle your opponents, and it's a
Okay.
good way of building an early positive lead. However, pop quiz, Adam, how long is a test?
How long is the test? 5 days.
It's 5 days. No one should be in a rush, and this is what went wrong. Um, this new style has yielded good results. England actually set their all-time single innings record score against Pakistan with 657. So
Oh.
when they come out swinging on the right pitch, Bazball can work. However, when played against better quality teams, it's led to this trend of humiliation. We drew a home series last summer against India, which I would not stop texting you about. We lost that actually the away match we played against Pakistan where we set the record. We still lost to that series, and we lost this Ashes in the first 3 games. We are very lucky that it was not a clean sweep because I don't know if you've checked the score, but I'm pretty sure we are losing. I'm pretty sure it'll be done this evening. So
Australia need 94 runs in 69 overs to win.
they're already batting.
Oh, yeah.
Ah, see, we started the day and we were still at the crease. This is bad. Anyway, what's happened in Australia is a capitulation from the batsman, a lots of poor selection, mainly regarding our bowlers. There are different types of bowlers: fast, seam, swing, spin. We did not take a vast enough variety, and we did not take enough specialists. One of my favorite cricketers, Jofra Archer, is this incredible fast bowler who was very effective, but then got hurt, and we just didn't have the depth in the squad to sort of
So
facilitate that.
basically, you've built a roster of players all do that are all kind of built to do a similar thing instead of kind of being
Yeah,
more spread out skill wise. Okay.
when during this Ashes our bowling wasn't working, we had very few avenues to turn and sort of search for a solution.
And all or
Um,
nothing. Got it.
yeah, very all or nothing, which is kind of the whole baseball idea.
Yeah.
Um, Also, in Test cricket specifically, you have so much time and you are playing on evolving pitches. It makes a lot of sense to be patient, to build partnerships. Now, this is something that I think I love so many things about baseball, but one thing that cricket has over baseball is the development of a partnership between, two batsmen. Obviously, we start with two, but as soon as one gets out, another one gets rotated in. Um, which means if you have a couple of unlucky lads come in and get knocked out, you have a very strong batter with maybe a weaker batter. And these batsmen sort of play with each other to make sure that the stronger batsman's on strike. But when he gets tired, he needs the other guy for a little bit of relief. So in Test cricket, you can build these partnerships. You could also like take the time to realize how the pitch is playing exactly. You can, you'll have a general idea of, from the, as I said earlier, the temperature, the grass type, the humidity, what the ball's going to do, but you won't know until you're at the crease.
Yeah, it's like taking
When
it's like the first like couple holes at the start of a golf round.
yes, perfect. When you apply baseball to Test cricket, we are seeing overwhelmingly that our players don't have the time to settle into that rhythm, don't have the time to build those sort of inter-batsman relationships, and also they snatch at balls that they shouldn't be, which is, that's fine. That's optimistic cricket. However, Australia knew that and just it played perfectly into their idea. Um, there is the main protagonist of this Ashes was called Mitchell Stark. He he's a star of Australian cricket, but I think before this test, he wasn't necessarily he might not have been everyone's like most hopeful prospect. He crushed it. He took 15 wickets in the first two tests. He's a speed bowler. He's a fast bowler. He's also incredibly good at bouncing the ball early, so um, batsmen have to sort of lift and play a high shot, which in baseball they're trying to do anyway. And this marriage of a experienced, albeit depleted Australian team, it was not by any means their strongest team, against what I think is quite a naive, over enthusiastic, poorly thought through tactical approach, meant
Tell us how
that
you really feel.
England England lost the Ashes in I think like 8 days. The first test didn't last longer than 2 days. That hasn't happened for over 100 years. And as we joked a couple of episodes ago, it's cost the Australians a lot of money.
Yeah. Also,
They gone.
one of the things from that the first cricket episode was I was absolutely dumbfounded when you told me that it takes a day and a half to get 10 batters out. Well,
Apparently it doesn't.
apparently it doesn't. But yeah, so it cost the Australians a ton of money. Yeah.
Yeah, these stadiums and these cities are planning on hosting tourists for 5 days, hosting the event for 5 days, selling 5 days. Not always 5 days, but typically these tests, we can have ties. Often it finishes without a result. Often 5 days isn't long enough. Occasionally there's rain. They keep the people stay in the stadium even if it's raining because they're all drunk. They think they're going to sell 5 days worth of booze, 5 days worth of food, 5 days worth of merchandise, and then it all finishes in 2 days. It was a disaster. Also, England are obviously a laughing stock in Australia because it's not the Australians' fault that they won so fast. The whole thing was a huge, forgive the pun, swing and a miss.
Mm.
Did English cricket need reinvention? Arguably. Bazball was supposed to close the margin between Australia and England, and instead it blew it wide open. Um, so that's what happened at this Ashes. Unless our bowlers produce a miracle, it sounds like we're going to lose this evening. By the time you're listening to this, of course, we will know. If it finishes 4-1, and that's the crazy thing. We actually won the fourth test. And we didn't win it because we were particularly good. Australia crumbled, which shows that there was an opportunity for a well-measured England team to win here. And instead, too many good batsmen were swinging at balls they shouldn't have been. Too many excellent athletes were playing naive, over-eager cricket, and we saw very, very good players fall very, very early, having scored very few, in some cases, 0 runs. We just threw it away, and it's embarrassing. Australia have now retained it for at least three series, and we have to wait another 2 years before we can retort at home. And it really will be, if we don't win the next one, we've got some very, very good players who I really don't know where we go next.
Yeah.
So pretty depressing. The the last thing that we'll talk about fits into that point, because the other thing that this Ashes has shown is that Test cricket, the traditionalists, the purists' favorite form of cricket, is starting to struggle.
And why is that? How are we able to? How is this Ashes part of? Is it a symptom or is it part of
Good
the problem?
question. Um, I don't think it's part of the problem. I think it's symptomatic. In the last 20 years, cricket has, as I said earlier, cricket is an incredibly traditionally motivated sport, but it's also very innovative. And like baseball and soccer and basketball, in the last 2.5 decades, cricket has taken some really proactive steps into making the game far more watchable. Unlike baseball, albeit we could maybe argue the Savannah Bananas represent a slight shift in this respect, but unlike basketball and soccer, a whole new format of cricket was invented, and we already had one-day internationals. Sorry, single limited overs cricket, which is played in a single day. A single day is still a long time to watch a single sports event, especially if it can draw. So then we invented 2020 cricket, where there are only 20 overs. Since then, we've also in the UK been treated to the 100, which is an even shorter format of cricket. But what's happened is cricket has evolved more and more to cater for an audience that are only interested in watching 2 or 3 hour long games. I know that's the same in the US, Adam.
Our attention spans suffer around the globe.
Now, it's not. Now, I'm glad you said around the globe, because this isn't just happening in the UK. As I mentioned earlier, the Big Blast, I think it's called the Big Blast League. It's like BBL or something like that. In Australia, actually plays alongside the Ashes every 4 years. I know, I know.
BBL some a little different, Harry.
I know. The Big Bash is the Australian T20 cricket series. I forced you to watch the IPL, which is the biggest limited overs sports event. That's
You did
brilliant.
not
You
force
enjoyed
me.
it.
You awakened me.
It's so good. And the thing is, in India, it goes off even further than, we said that the NCG holds 100,000 people and the atmosphere in Australia is incredible. It's nothing compared to what the Indians sort of throw at cricket. And The IPL plays between March and May. It's not a very long season, and it makes billions. It's so popular,
It's
and
electric. How could it not
it
be?
exactly. And then in England, we have the T20 Blast. We also have county cricket, which I think play test and single day, but I don't quote me on that. But we also have T20 here. So shorter and shorter forms of cricket are becoming more and more accessible and more attractive to fans. And as I alluded to earlier, players. To maximize earnings, cricket players play cricket year round. Obviously, cricket is a fair weather sport. So many cricket players follow the sun around the world, and
Yeah.
it is very common, uh, like Ellyse Perry, like Joe Root, who is the current England's best player. He's an incredible batsman and he deserves better than what's happened to him this year. These players play for uh, Ellyse Perry plays in Australia, India, and England. Joe Root plays for Yorkshire. He plays for two different teams in two different disciplines of cricket in England. He plays for the Par Royals in South Africa, and he's also played in Dubai and the IPL and Australia. These cricket players play short form cricket year round. And then every 2 years, we ask them to play test match cricket against the Australians. And it's kind of not in their nature anymore. Like fast, aggressive cricket is often what certainly younger players and now it's all they know. Now to counteract this, the ICC launched the the World Test Cricket Championships, which is basically played over a series of 2 years. All of the ICC first class members, which are those 12 most predominantly colonial former colonies, play sort of each other in a bit of a round robin, and then the four teams that do the best go to a finals, and that's a sort of attempt to keep it relevant. But I think more and more cricket is moving towards short form because it's easier to understand, it's easier to watch, it's where the money is, and because of that, I think Test cricket is starting to really suffer.
Wow.
I wouldn't go as far to say as it's doomed, but I think this
It's
because England played this Ashes like they were playing T20, like they were playing a short form of cricket. They went out and they lost hard. I think it will provoke questions in the next 2 years about, certainly in the England camp, whether or not that approach to cricket is the right thing for England and for cricket in general, but also whether or not this format of Test cricket still has a place.
I
Because
mean,
if you can make as much money,
yeah. I mean, it feels
go
like it feels like, yeah, there's definitely different, like there's definitely different kind of like um factors going against it. But also, I mean, if what you're saying is true and that Australians are playing a lot of T20 and shorter forms of cricket too, like shouldn't they be feeling the effects just as much? Like I may it's interesting because I feel like there's analogies to baseball, there's analogies to even golf, honestly, with sports
yeah,
that have, I think golf maybe especially is probably the one where it makes the most sense, where the sport itself has grown in popularity. However,
uh,
you have some of that is because of things like, and these are don't these are a little bit apples and oranges, but like there's things like Top Golf and there's things like these
sure,
places that are more catering to the fun of the sport itself, but maybe not to like the classic, hardcore traditional form of the sport, thinking
I
about
agree.
live golf and how that has forced the PGA to make some changes, even though those aren't necessarily all directly related to competitions.
Yeah,
There's different streams. There's TGL, the where you have players that are on the PGA tour that are going to play this like indoor simulate,
yeah.
glorified simulator golf essentially.
I
That
think that's great.
Yeah, I mean, it's a lot of fun, and, like, I think the idea there is that there's a there's a world where we can live with all of it, right? And just as there's a
Sure.
world that we can live with regular baseball and the Savannah Bananas and banana ball. There's
Yeah.
with baseball and banana ball.
Uh,
Um, it's a little bit different though when the financial structure is such that the majority is coming from that upstart form. So it'll be
yeah.
interesting to kind of see if cricket is a little bit of a bellwether for some other sports, or if these other sports that have kind of weathered some storms um, are a little bit more of a bellwether for cricket.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And I could wax lyrical about how much I've loved learning and really getting into cricket spectatorship, but I'm pretty sure I just heard the 2-minute warning go off.
Oh no! Oh,
So we're gonna have to quickly segue into it's your question this week for your 2-minute warning question.
it is in fact, and good ears. I didn't hear it, so thanks for catching it. We would gotten a flag thrown on us. So my 2-minute warning question for you, Harry, is what is your favorite sports uniform of all time, or kit, as you may say?
Wow, really good.
Could be any
That's
sport. Think a
there
race
are
and fire suit.
so
Think
many.
a soccer kit. Think a
Oh,
baseball
um,
uniform. Be anything.
early ones that spring to mind, and I'm gonna. My dad is listening to this, and he I think got this obsession from um, Catch Me If You Can, the movie. I don't necessarily like the Yankees pinstripes. It's
Okay.
not unique. I don't like the gray and the black, but like that immediately leapt to me as like an early uh answer. Objectively, obviously I wouldn't say any Brighton, even though we've had some wonderful kits. Barcelona's the Blaugrana, the red and blue is amazing, but my favorite is uh the QPR kit with Guinness written across the chest. The shirt sponsor was
Ooh,
Guinness. It was amazing. Lovely old badge, blue and white with red piping and Guinness. Oh, it's such a good question.
I
I
know.
wish I thought more about it. That's so good. Adam, what is your favorite sports uniform ever?
Yeah, that's a tough one. Yeah, there's so many, and I can see the Guinness QPR one. I think actually might
I've
be
got it
one of the
upstairs.
first. Oh, yeah, 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 that's right. You do. That might have been one of the first like football kits that I saw where I was like, "Whoa, these
Yeah.
are these can be amazing." Um,
Yeah.
yeah, there's a ton, and a lot of it just depends on what the color scheme that your team happens to have. Like objectively, Carolina blue is the best
Yes.
color in all of sports, and I think that the uniforms that UNC basketball wore in the early 1980s that they actually are having they have throwbacks to now, I think are the greatest ever. But I will avoid going Carolina. So I will say I
I
think. Oh,
Your
good.
point about the color is so important. I'm always drawn to green
Yeah,
kits. I know athletes apparently don't like wearing them, especially if they're playing on grass. But like, I like the Green Bay Packers always sticks out. But oh, we should do a whole episode on it. Yeah,
it's
Carolina
so
Blue. Oh, amazing.
it's so
What
good.
continue?
My favorite, I would there's so many. I genuinely can't pick, but I'm gonna go with one that I really, really do love, and that is the a classic, the old Brooklyn Dodger, back when they were the Brooklyn Dodgers. They've carried it forward to today. I think the Los Angeles Dodgers, as much as people, hate on them as a
The
team,
white,
I
the
could
red, and the
say that
blue.
it's just so clean
It's
and
so
classic.
good.
And it just like when you think of a baseball uniform, you think of that and you think of, the pinstripes of the Yankees. And I just genuinely think that the Dodger uniform is just such a pretty
It's
uniform to look at. Even though it's
yeah,
simple, it's plain, it's just so good. So that's pretty good.
that's
And
so
we'll have to. I think we'll have to revisit this one because there's just too many good ones. But yeah, that I think my hearing has come back because that's the final whistle that I'm hearing, Harry. Thanks. First of all, want to hear what your favorite sports uniform is, or give us a list of 5 or 10, whatever. Just name teams, name uniforms, whatever it may be. Let us know. Let us know yours. Let us know if you have thoughts on cricket. If you're American, you have questions about cricket for Harry. Let us know. But
Yes.
yeah, please leave us a like, comment, review on Spotify or YouTube, wherever you are taking this in. We are on social, on Instagram, TikTok. We'll post on YouTube Shorts as well. Haven't been quite as active there lately as we've been obviously focusing on the holidays, and hope that you've enjoyed time as well with your loved ones this holiday season. But yeah, thanks for watching, everybody.
We'll talk to you later, everyone.